got to find out whether she's burners or not, because at this point she pulled me on top of that and we are away. Oh no, fuck it, that's gone, hasn't it? Didn't go off. And I realised there and then, and ladies and gentlemen, I don't like to brag, but this was my first time having sex. And I realised that as a man, there's a thing that happens where you, how can I put this? You want to stay in the game, right, and maintain solidarity as long as you can, but you don't want your first time to be a flop, right? So you've got to find a technique to keep going, not get too excited, so not think like of Rachel Reeves and blow your budget straight away, right? You've got to find a way to keep going. You need a technique. So what's your technique? No, it's not. It's fine. We're all friends here. You think about your car. I'm intrigued. What sort of car have you actually got? Oh no, that'd be too quick for me. It'd be over in seconds. Something German and bulbous like that. No, what's your technique? Big respect. Should have thought of that before I started this. So what I did, right, this was my technique, I decided to count the thrusts. Yeah! And it worked. I got to 50, right? I got to 50 actual thrusts. And then I opened my eyes and I realised she was frowning at me. So I said, right, okay, from now on, I'll count them in my head. So I carried on. I got to 273 thrusts. Yes! But I had to stop them because it was ruining a pot noodle for her. No woman likes a pot noodle messed up. So that was it. That is why I am celebrating tonight. Yeah, I'll take that. And you're celebrating tonight because you've got an extra. Okay? So after 3, it's you lot that's going to start it, right? After 3, Mexican cheer. 1, 2, 3, go! Some of you did the wave as well, like special kids. It's brilliant. Okay, so we're going to do the cheer, and it's going to go to the back. But then you're going to come back to the front again. Now this is more difficult because you're all facing this way, so you've got to really use your ears carefully. So we'll start again. 1, 2, 3, go! That's what it's going to be like. So I'm going to introduce our first act tonight. I'm going to say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Nick Hill. I'm going to say that, you're going to do a huge cheer, and it's going to keep on going until he gets to the microphone. How about that? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage our first act for the night, the one and only Mr. Nick Hill!
Right, what part of keep cheering until I get to the stage were you actually struggling with then? Listen, it was lovely to be introduced by somebody who clearly looked like they just finished umpiring a cricket match. Was it just me who, when he described his first sexual experience, thought that voice, he's just shagged a parrot? That's what it... And it's lovely to be in a room where in the second row you've got 2 people with headphones on, clearly out to enjoy the night. That is just... Yeah, and I was dreading you saying something like that, so I'll just leave you to alone. And it's also lovely to be in a room with with a health and safety expert in the room. Did you know you had a health and safety expert in? Oh yeah? This lady here in the black and the stripy trousers, I take it was her husband. You were distraught with him because you blocked the gangway. You were telling him to move over, weren't you? So he's now had to move over there. Are you going to finish that argument when you get home? Because you were really pissed off at him at one point, weren't you? You look, just fucking move out the way. People have got to walk through here. And you didn't want to go, didn't you? You turned your back on her, didn't you? Absolutely turned your back on her. And I thought, well, I think you were in the right, because he was in the fucking way, to be honest. So that's a nice gentle start, isn't it? And to be honest, if you want to heckle, I don't care less. You can heckle, you can be as nasty as you want, I really don't care, because that just makes you what in the trade we call a fair game. Is that okay? So it was nice to have that introduction by Matt, because I've got to be honest, not all MCs are like that. I did a gig in Swansea a couple of weeks ago, and I was backstage waiting to go on. And I think the MC had overdosed on too many long plumbers. Because all I heard was, "Ladies and gentlemen, go wild, whoop, holler, stamp your feet, clap your hands, raise the roof as we welcome to the stage again." I came on and there were 4 people sat there. He's announced me as Nick Hill. They were expecting a comedian from Bangladesh, had to manage their expectations. In the front row, there was, it turned out a grandmother, a grandson and a mother. The grandmother and mother were distraught because the grandson was going to go in the army. And I said to the grandmother, "What are you worried about? He said, "He might be killed." So I said to the grandson, who was a good-looking lad, I said, "Are you worried about going to battle?" He went, "No, I'm just going as an administrator, so I'm absolutely fine." So I said to the grandmother, "There you go. He's just going to be an administrator. He won't be anywhere near the front line, so he's not in danger of being killed. Looking as he does, however, I think he's more in danger of an assault from the rear." That didn't give him much comfort. So I left those alone. I moved on to the guy on the second row, just a single bloke sat on his own. I said, "So what's your name, mate? What's your name? What's your story?" He said, "My name's Roger Moore." And I thought, "Oh yes, the comedy guys." But he followed it up with, "I've got mental health issues and I don't know what I'm doing here." So we left that alone, to be quite honest. This isn't the first time in your lovely village, 2022. I think I did a gig, I think might have been the White Hart or Golden Cross, I don't remember, but I just went on and I said, "Oh hi, it's lovely to be in Ashton, Keynes," and straight away this woman at the back said, "Oh, excuse me young man, I know it's spelled Keynes, Keynes, but here in the village we all prefer to pronounce it Keynes, is that okay?" "No, that's absolutely fine. Gotta be honest, does make you sound like a bit of a pretentious cunt." To be fair, it was quite good advice, because the following week I was doing a gig in Leclardet. I did that joke in Swansea, completely flat. Didn't know who the next day was. I did a gig in Lechlade, and I don't know if you know, but it was quite some years back. There was a case in the paper about a guy called Nicholas Saunders, who'd been, in fact, he was convicted of it, of basically he made a sexual advance towards his ex-wife. She spurned his advances, so to get revenge, he went and had sex with her dog. Did you know about that, Ashton? Keynes? No? And it wasn't just any dog, it was a bull mastiff. Right? So I thought, I've got to ask the room. I said, can anybody remember that case? They all remembered it. Can you remember it? No. You played football with him. So I went up and I said, does anybody remember this case? And they all put, "Oh yeah, we can remember it." And I said, "Was anybody actually involved with it?" Like, nobody put their hands up, and then this one bloke at the front, he sort of sheepishly put his hand up like this. I was like, "Oh, please God, let this be Nicholas Saunders." I said, are you Nicholas Saunders?" "But no, I'm one of the detectives that investigated it." Oh, I didn't know whether to be relieved or sad really. So I said, was apart from the obvious, was there anything that struck you as unusual about it? And he said, yeah, he was a good-looking bloke. I said, well, that doesn't make sense. I mean, the dog wasn't bothered. So I said, look, I'm no detective, but when did you arrest him? He said, oh, yeah, we arrested him the same night. I said, well, was he marked, bitten, scratched? He said, no, he didn't have a mark on him. I said, okay. I said, well, I'm no detective, but if he didn't have a mark on him, and that was a bull mastiff, I'd have thought, possibly, this wasn't the first time it happened. I only thought that this afternoon, I'm not going to bother doing that joke. But I have travelled up. I've travelled up all the distance from Gloucester today, and yeah, thanks. That's better than the normal thing that gets shouted out. Oh, Fred, we're so much more than that. We've had the Docks used as a film set. We've had the cathedral used for Harry Potter, but obviously we can't compete with the Forest of Dean that used Puzzlewood for that last Star Wars film. And I don't know if you know this, but the makers of that Star Wars film wanted to recreate that scene in the first Star Wars film where our heroes walk into that cantina and it's full of people with like 2 heads, 8 fingers on one hand, and all they had to do was walk into any bar in Colford. A couple of my favourite stories come from the Forest of Dean. There was a report in the paper when we used to have papers of a man, there's a bit of a scene going on here, a man from Cinderford who'd been accused of having sexual intercourse with a wild boar whilst under the influence of alcohol. And that got me thinking, how much alcohol would a wild boar need? And they had a problem with flooding at Lower Lidbrook. So what the Forestry Commission did is they introduced beavers to that particular area with the idea that the beavers would gnaw down the trees, create dams, and that would stop the flooding. And then somebody said to the Forestry Commission, you do realise that the beaver is a very voracious creature. How are you going to stop them spreading around the rest of the forest? And they genuinely said, yeah, that's all right, we thought that. We're going to build wooden fences to keep them in. We've got, I don't know if you've got any rivalries with any sort of local villages, but Gloucester, our biggest rival is Cheltenham. I didn't realise just how much sort of Cheltenham people really don't like us until a few years ago, when there was talk of Gloucester being twinned with Cheltenham to create a super city. And BBC Gloucester went out into Gloucester to interview people and said, how do you feel about this? And the result was quite positive. You know, a lot of people said, yeah, that could be brilliant, because they've got a lot of culture, festivals, we've got history, so there'll be a good merge. They went into Cheltenham, they struggled to find one person who'd be prepared to comment. They eventually found her outside the Montpellier wine bar at 8 o'clock on a Friday night. And I think her one-word comment to the question, how would you feel about Gloucester being twinned with Cheltenham, sums Cheltenham's people's attitude up entirely. Because she just said, ghastly. The main thing we're famous for, though, and I'm sure you all know, is the cheese roll. We're aware of the cheese roll? Yeah. No. I've never done it. I've lived in Gloucester all my life, and I've decided now, this is my 67th year on this earth, that I'm going to do the cheese roll this year. So, yeah, I know. I've been practicing. I've been rolling a baby bell down my drive. That's been going really well. And a few years ago, the cheese roll was banned, and then when it was reintroduced, BBC South West came up to film it. And one of the winners of one of the races was a 15-year-old girl from a not particularly brilliant place in Gloucester called Brockwood. And they interviewed her. And they said, so Kylie, you've entered the race and you've won. What would you like to say? She said, well, yeah, I did enter the race and I did win, and I'm very surprised. And I said, why are you surprised, Kylie? And I thought, oh, Kylie, you're on national television, say something profound, say something that's going to put Gloucester on the map. And what I was hoping she was going to say was something like, well, I left school when I was 13. Everybody wrote me off, my teachers, my friends, my family. They all said I was a waste of space. I'm 15 now, I've already got 8 kids by 10 different dads. I thought, you know what, Kylie, this is your chance to shine. And I trained really hard for this event, out in all weathers, and I got to the top of that hill, and I looked down, and I could see those friends, family, teachers, all down the bottom laughing. I thought, you won't be laughing in a minute. And when that cheese was released, I just threw myself off that hill. I could have broken my neck, arms, I didn't care, I just wanted to prove something. I wanted to get to the bottom, win, and show that I'm not a waste of space, I am worth something. That's what I wanted her to say. What came out of Kylie's mouth to the question, why were you surprised, was simply this. I don't even like cheese. You cannot make it up. So I've been doing stand-up, I don't know, 20 odd years now, and I'll probably have my best year in stand-up in 2023. I went to the Leicester Comedy Festival, and I entered the competition, silver stand-up, and I won it. Basically, it's a competition for the over 55s, right? There's no upper age in it. So backstage it's like God's waiting room for comedians. In the final, one act, just before he was going to go on, he was in a chair, slumped, eyes closed, and we were looking at him. So, do you think he's asleep or dead? I don't know. Well, do you think we should wake him? No, don't wake him, don't wake him. And they said, is it because you're scared you shouldn't wake someone? No, but if he misses his chance, it increases ours, doesn't it? So I went on, did my 5 minutes, and I won, and I phoned my wife. I said, you'll never guess, after 4 years of trying, I've only gone and won. And she's like, well, that's fantastic. What have you won? Because obviously she is from Mumbai. And I said, I've won a trophy. Right, anything else? No, just a trophy. So I'm back home a couple of hours later showing her this trophy. That's very nice, but I'll ask you again, is there anything else? No, I've told you. Right, they've been on the website, right? It says on there, there's a £500 cash prize for the winner. I was gutted, right, because I had that lined up for something else. So what have I told you all through our marriage? I don't know, there's been so many things it's hard to remember, to be honest. She said, never lie. And she's right, you shouldn't lie in a marriage, right? But she went away on a cruise last year. She was away for a week. She phoned me on the Wednesday. You all right? Yeah, I'm all right, yeah. Are you missing me? I remember what she said, never lie. So I just went, no, absolutely. Absolutely not. She started clutching at the straw. She said, well, I bet the dog's missing me. And I've got to be honest, I did lie. I went, yeah, of course he is. He fucking wasn't. He wasn't. He was loving life. He was sleeping with me, reenacting the Nicholas. No, we weren't. I was feeding him from the table. We were down the pub every night. We went and got tattoos. Well, I did. It was the best week of our lives, I've got to be honest. Because we had work, we're going to celebrate 25 years marriage this year. And she was moaning the other day, she said, oh, I think the romance has gone out of our relationship. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, maybe on those rare occasions when we are being intimate, it would be nice to have some music playing, just to break the silence. So I thought, okay, you've got a point. So the other evening, we were getting down to it, and I put the first track on, Angels by Robbie Williams. I thought, that'll do, you're there. I've got to be honest, with hindsight, my choice of song number 2 slightly killed the mood, the theme from Match of the Day. And then she moaned there was no surprises in our relationship anymore. So again, I took that on board. The other night, she was in the bathroom getting ready for bed. I went into the bedroom, turned the lights off, lit some candles, went under the bed. And when she came in, I just grabbed her ankles. And apparently that wasn't the surprise she had wanted. But she did surprise me just before Christmas. She said, you have remembered you're picking me up from my work stool tomorrow. Now, that came as a total surprise, because she retired 7 years ago. And she now works from home part-time. But no, that's fine. So I got to the place at the time, she got in the car, all I said was, have you had a nice time? And then it started. Are you saying I'm drunk? Oh, no. No, but clearly you've had one or two. And we had silence for about 5 minutes. And then I got, the thing is, I don't think you love me. In fact, I don't think you've ever loved me. I said, well, I do. I have. Obviously no guarantees going forward, but so well, if you love me, he said, you can prove it to me right now. I said, how am I going to do that? He said, you can get on top of me in this car and make love to me. I said, well, that isn't going to happen. He said, give me one good reason. I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll do better than that, I'll give you 3. So number 1, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Number 2, we're still outside Wetherspoons in the middle of Gloucester. And number 3, we've got your girlfriend Chris in the back of the car. Because we're giving her a lift home. And that's the thing. She's got a girlfriend. She went away on that cruise for a week with her girlfriend. I wanted 1 night away with my girlfriend to spend that £500 with you. So the grief I got from that. I retired in 2023, so I've spent literally coming up to 2 years at the end of this month. It's been 24/7 with her, and that's. I'm just glad to be out, to be it's been a struggle. We've just got to a stage where we're starting to irritate each other, I would say. Probably a bit like you two. But we don't talk about health and safety issues with people blocking the gangway. But for me, it's nothing major about breathing. And if we're out in the car and we come up to a junction and I want to turn right, I'll say to her, is it safe to go? And she'll go, yeah. And as I'm halfway across the road, as long as you're quick. But it has been a voyage of discovery, because I've discovered in the past 2 years she's missed a vocation in life, because she could have had an outstanding career in musical theatre. Because I've worked out in the last 2 years she can make a song and dance about anything. What I did, have we got any retired people in the room? Yeah, fucking course we have. Look at the demographic. It's a bit like a saga coach trip was pulled up outside, isn't it, for some? I didn't realise until I retired that apparently, and retired people can probably vouch for this, for you young ones, you've got all this ahead of you, that it is actually obligatory to spend 4 days out of the 7 at a garden centre. I had no idea. We go to one fairly local to us in Whitminster, and we go there so often. I've got a loyalty card, and we went there last year on my birthday. And I gave the loyalty card over, and it must come up on the till or something. The lady said, "Oh, congratulations, birthday boy." I said, "Why do you know that?" She said, "Well, it says it's here on the till, on your details. That's good news, isn't it?" I went, "No, it's not." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I'm now 66. You won't know this, but the average life expectancy for a male in the UK in good health is 81. So at best I might have another fucking 15 years. So no, it's not good news. But unless you know something different, she will know it is good news, because now you qualify for one of our senior citizen discount cards." And I'm thinking, just fucking shoot me now, my life. I said, "Is it going to cost me anything?" She said, No, it's completely free. And she gave me this card. And I said, "What are the main benefits?" She said, "Well, the main benefit to you is you get 40% off a roast lunch." Brilliant. And I'm walking back, and I'm looking at the small print on the back of this card, and she's right, you do get 40% off a roast lunch, served every Monday between 9:15 and 11:20 a.m. And I thought, who the fuck eats a roast lunch every Monday between 9:15 and 11:20? Well, since last August. I just finished with this. I was right when I got 50. I didn't mind being 50, because what happens at 50 through the post, you get like free life insurance and stuff. At 60, that changes. You get stair lifts, walking baths, and funeral plans, right? I knew a little bit about funeral plan, because when my mum died in 2019, she had a funeral plan with the co-op. And as the last surviving son, I had to go and sort it out. So I went in, said, "I'm Nick Hill, G Hill's son, come and sort a funeral out." She said, "All right, have a seat, Nick." So I had a seat. She said, "How old are you?" Sorry? What's that got to do? She said, how old are you? I said, 61. Have you got a funeral plan? No. You should, because you could go at any time. She said, do you know what it entails? I said, well, no, not really. She said, well, basically, if you want to pay us $4,000 now in a lump sum, we can plan the whole thing. So you could be buried, cremated, a simple service. If you could decide where you want the wake, you could put some money over the bar. If you want to buy some food now, you could do that. You could tell people if they've got to wear a fancy dress. You could have a band, a disco, a comedian, magician. Whatever you want, you can have. We had a conversation for 10 minutes, and by the end of it, I've got to be honest, I was looking forward to my own fucking death. Listen, you've been an absolute challenge this evening. Thank you very much for listening. Good night, my name's Nick Hill.